Are you a business owner or an entrepreneur getting divorced in Texas? The way the law works may surprise you. Here's the thing, and I'm a business owner myself, so I feel ya. The way you're going to need to consider getting divorced is the way you would consider launching some big project or a whole new business. You need to start planning ahead, and you need to start planning now. Like they say, the best time to plant a tree was 25 years ago. The next best time is today. So the way that property law works in Texas is everything bought or acquired or formed during a marriage is community property. It's both of y'all's. Everything bought or acquired or formed prior to the marriage is yours, your separate property. So that applies to whether it's a motorcycle or a multi-million-dollar business. If you owned the business, it was formed, you have your PLLC or your LLC or corporation, whatever, and you funded it correctly, you treated it correctly, and that business continues to operate during the marriage, but it was yours before, it's going to be yours after. That's your separate property. And a court may not award your separate property to the other party. Now, if it was likewise, if you formed this business during the marriage, like you go back to your formation documents and that date is post the date of marriage, even by like a day, okay? Probably even if you formed it the day of your marriage, like I doubt people really do that, but I'm sure someone has. It would be considered community property, and all of it is going to be both of y'all's, even if it's only your name on the formation documents. You're the only one who does anything there. That asset is both of y'all's. Now, the thing that surprises people who are married to business owners is this business, let's say it's like a painting business, and it was a $10,000 a year side hustle that was formed like We Paint Houses LLC 2 years before the marriage, $10,000. Then during the duration of the marriage, We Paint Houses LLC becomes a $10 million business. That's still the separate property of the person who formed it, meaning the whole business is going with them. You don't divide the growth in Texas the way you do in other states. So look, I had to research this one time where there was a couple states involved. Like in other states that do equitable distributions, what often they'll do is that growth between the $10,000 painting shop to the $10 million painting shop, you would divide that equitably, especially if one of the spouses helped work in the business, helped formed it, provide counsel, whatever. But that's not how it works in Texas. So if you're going to form a business, you really should do it before you get married if you want to ensure that you're taking it out with you. You can also do a premarital agreement or a postmarital agreement, but obviously a postmarital agreement is going to be kind of harder. So say you form this community property entity after you get married, and then you try to say, oopsie, we need to sign this postmarital agreement because the lawyers say so, that this is my business. Like, if you're the spouse of that person, like, why are you going to do that? And those of you who are spouses, like, don't sign that paper without a lawyer talking to you first because they're trying to cheat you out of something that's 50% yours. Now, one of the things that can happen, and if you're getting divorced, this is going to come up. Like, you want to make sure that in this separate property business, you didn't underpay yourself so that you retained earnings in the business. So let's say in this painting business, at first, you didn't even pay yourself a salary because like there was no income, right? There was revenue, but no net income. But then over time, let's say you only paid yourself, $44,000 a year, okay? And it's now a $10 million business, and you're leaving that money in and reinvesting it in the business. Well, the other party is going to say, look, you robbed the community estate of some of that income because to run a $10 million business, you cannot pay yourself $44,000. Try at least $440,000. And so you owe the community the difference between those two. So like that's one of the things you want to keep in mind. Like, don't try to be cute. Don't try to be tricky with the way you run the separate property business because it could end up having really unintended consequences. So like you would want to work with a firm who understands owning a business and getting divorced so they can help you think about those terms ahead of time and start planning, maybe even form your corporate documents in such a way to protect them in the future. We do that kind of thing at Hembree Bell Law and would be happy to talk with you if you're just in the very beginning planning phases or if you're already like, hey, this is happening, I got to deal with whatever it is. And then I think a final consideration you need to make is, on the back end, when it comes to the divorce decree, you need to paper this thing pristinely. Think about when you've gone to close on a house, right? How many papers do you sign for the mortgage, this and that deed and trust, and this kind of deed, and every disclosure known to man? Your decree, I'm not saying it's going to be that extensive, but you're going to need some paperwork to ensure that this person doesn't have an interest, they're not on any of the formation documents, if you needed to transfer any LLCs, like that all of that is papered correctly. So just be careful that if you have a business and at the end of the day you have a decree and like nothing else happened, especially if it's kind of a robust business with a lot of stuff, you may need some additional work to fully paper it so that you're fully protected on the back end. And then another part of this that is related, unrelated, okay, is your estate plan. The way that this feeds into the whole thing is you need to figure out what's going to happen to your business during the middle of your, like obviously before you're getting divorced, you're just happily married, yay, you need an estate plan. You really need it in the middle of your divorce because let's say you have this business and let's say you formed it after you were married, so it's a community property business, and you die and you don't have a will or anything, your business, this community entity, is going to go to the person you're married to. That's the intestate, meaning dying without a will law in Texas. So if you're in the middle of a divorce and you're a business owner, a key low-hanging fruit risk management strategy that you must do is get at least a basic estate plan, or when if you were to die in the middle of this and like it has occurred, okay, then all of your stuff is going to go to the person you're divorcing, probably, like so long as you don't have kids from a prior marriage and all that. And then obviously on the back end, it is a perfect time to get an estate plan done on the back end of getting divorced for anyone, but especially if you have a business, because you've just papered everything, all of your stuff is organized, you've got everything in one place. It's the right time to go through and just one less check of the box to get that last part done, put it in a notebook, put it in the safe, you're clear. Or it's going to be one more loop left undone that you're going to have to deal with at some point, and you're really exposed then. Because if you die without a spouse and something happens to you and you've got kids just of the marriage, there's no other like kids, you die, you're like, oh, it's cool, it'll just all go to my kids. Well, yeah, but if they're under 18, then they're going to need a guardian of their estate. You know who the natural guardian of the estate of your kids is? Your ex, their mom, their dad, right? And so then they would have a lot of say and control over your money, your business, and all that, which you fought so hard to not make the case in the middle of your divorce and getting the deal you got. So what we can do is set you up with some sort of a trust, or even just like at least a basic will, so that that exact scenario doesn't play out. So whether it's us or somebody else, like one of the very, very most important things you can do as a business owner is make sure that your estate is protected, obviously before divorce, definitely during divorce, and it's a no-brainer when the divorce is wrapping up. One of the questions we get asked if you're a business owner getting divorced in Texas is, if the other party is entitled to half of your business, does that mean like they're going to show up to the paint shop and like grab some brushes and tell the guys what to do? Probably not. So what's going to govern there are a few things. Really what they're getting is half the value of your business. So we're going to have to value the business, like what is the thing worth? And hopefully you have enough other assets to pay them out or buy them out from that. So like say you have some liquid stuff in stocks or in 401ks and your business is worth $1 million. So they're entitled to $500,000 of that. Well, hopefully you can give them other stocks, other 401k, more of the equity out of the house to pay them off. But where things get hard is where there isn't enough liquid capital or even tied up in property to pay them for the value of the business. And your business is like growing and it's on the way, but there's no cash to give them. That's when you got to get creative. Like sometimes it may involve a long-term buyout. So like say you owe them $500,000 and you may pay them, some amount of money per month over however many years to pay them off. So it'd be like an ongoing debt of your business. You may have to take out a loan. I mean, I guess perhaps they could force you to sell it. Like that's what would happen in a house. Like it doesn't usually ever come to that. I don't usually hear that. Like I've got to try to, dissolve the business because I can't pay it. Like usually if you've got enough of a business that it's worth you fighting over to maintain, you're going to figure out a way to buy them out. And then the fight really becomes about what is that business worth? Whoever wants to take the thing wants to say it's worth nothing. And whoever wants the value of the thing says it's worth a gajillion dollars, right? So working with a legal team, like us at Hembree Bell Law, who sees the value in getting an expert involved early and often to help us really have an idea of what that business is worth is going to be crucial. We always say, like, lawyers love to make this like corny joke about how we're lawyers because we don't love math. I happen to like math, so not me, but lawyers who are smart know that we know just enough to be dangerous in the CPA, accounting, tax world. So we're going to bring on a team member who is an expert in this area to help value the business and help come up with financial strategies to make it possible to both keep your business and move on with your life and be fair and, legal with your ex-spouse. And that's one of the things as a business owner getting divorced in Texas, you're going to need to commit to, just like hear me as a fellow business owner. Don't be cheap when it comes to your divorce. All right. You're not cheap when it comes to running your business. And I'm not saying you have to hire the most expensive person in town. And probably I would advise you not to do that. Shop around to make sure you get a good value with a good level of expertise that's needed for your situation. Okay. But what I'm really talking about is not in your legal counsel. It's in the team you put together to do the thing. So at work, you have experts, like you have a legal expert, you have a marketing expert, you have an internet expert. You don't try to do everything because you've got this thriving business to run. Same thing when it comes to your divorce. You don't want your lawyer doing everything because they're not that good at it. They're good at the legal things, hopefully, if you've chosen well. But they don't value businesses. They're not accountants. They can't give you tax advice. So think in terms of developing this collaborative team and having your lawyer as the quarterback who can bring together all of the pieces to serve you and your business so that you can get back to doing what you're good at, running that company. People ask me, what if we do jointly own the business and we're getting divorced, right? So you've got both spouses as 50-50 owners on the LLC or the corporation. Number one, did you form your business on LegalZoom because you knew how to do it and you didn't really need a lawyer? Oh, dang. Because any lawyer worth their weight in salt is not going to let you form an LLC with 50-50 interest, because what happens when you don't agree? You're going to be in this situation where you need to watch this video, because what you really need is somebody with 51% who can make the decisions. But if not, and it's both of y'all's business, it's going to get real dicey. It's going to be fact intensive. Like, who actually runs the business? Who is the day-to-day? Like, what's the talent? Like, who can continue to sustain this business long-term? Maybe something the court would consider, or the court, it's sort of like, if y'all two can't get along, I guess the business has to dissolve. Go form your own new businesses, right? So it's going to get super fact intensive and complicated to decide if you're both on there and you both have 50-50 interest in the business, because a court's going to look to the operating agreement of the company. Like, do you have one of those? Did they give it to you on LegalZoom? I don't know. But the operating agreement should say what happens even in the event of a divorce. But if not, ultimately, you're probably either going to have to, one of y'all give in and form a new one. Some couples do, believe it or not. It's blows my mind, but they will continue to work together after the divorce. Good on you. I'm so excited for you. That is so cute. I hope that you can continue to do that in all seriousness, but most people, that's not how it goes. So it depends, and that's a really annoying lawyer thing to say, but that's why we want to make sure to have good documents on the front end so you're not in that situation.